And she started going into channel mode. And I tell you what, if people don't believe in shape-shifting, they should have been there. When this lady goes into this channel mode, her face changed, her voice changed, everything changed. And I'm new to this, I'm presenting the sport. And I'm like, bloody hell, what am I into here? This woman's just changed, like unbelievable. And she starts channeling this information. And all these years later, nearly 20 years later, it absolutely stands the test of time. And this is what it said. The source gave the name Magnu, but it's just an energetic source of consciousness. I feel you are sensing now the energies coming in, the energies surrounding your planet. This is causing many of you to ask questions. Remember, this is 1990. It is causing many of you to reevaluate completely your way of life, where you feel you wish to go, what you want to do. It is causing tremendous upheavals. Some of these upheavals are confusing, very distressing, very disturbing. Some people in partnerships are finding they can no longer continue in those partnerships because their partners cannot tune into what they are tuning into. It is causing a great deal of disturbance. And as I have said to this sensitive on more than one occasions, that you must organize yourself into groups to support each other. Now then, my own allegiance with your planet goes back to an Atlantean period when there were many energies being used and information and knowledge being used which were for particular reasons of safety withdrawn, shall we say, to prevent complete catastrophe, to prevent total destruction of your planet. I would suggest that these energies that were withdrawn created the need to bridge the gap which we were energetically getting sustenance from before in what we call food, and the law of the wild all started coming in and all that stuff. Just my view anyway. One could say that these were sort of emergency measures, if you like, to prevent the inhabitants of this planet from an untimely destruction. Now at that time, shall we say, this knowledge was distributed only to the few. It was taught in what one could call a temple setting, though I'm very careful about using this word. It has connotations maybe. So let me use that word in the broadest possible sense. There were those initiated into this knowledge, there were grades of initiation, and those who passed the full initiation, they were called the guardians of the light, the keepers of the secret knowledge. This is the context from which I am coming. There came a time when this knowledge and the energies were withdrawn. It is very difficult for me to explain to you precisely what I mean by that, so I will let you mull these things over. As the energies around your planet quicken, again, this is 1990, as these latent energies, these energies which have been withdrawn, will now be phased back in. They will gradually be awakened. As the consciousness level of your planet raises itself, those of you who are working together to raise your consciousness, you will be able to hold more and more refined vibrations, and so we will be able to use you as a catalyst to feed in more and more energies. As more of you raise yourselves to meet the challenge, so we can awaken more of these energies. Now, energy is consciousness, and the energies themselves contain the knowledge and the information which is beginning to surface again in your consciousness. So many of you will remember the Atlantean times. You will remember that you communicated with, say, dolphins and whales. You understood these other sentient creatures. This is the lion and the lamb period I was talking about earlier. You could levitate. You could manifest things. You could cause spontaneous combustion by not miraculous means at all. Once you know what you're doing, these things follow. It's a matter of order. Now, I'm looking at a time on your planet when these energies, this knowledge, is reawakened and reintegrated into your consciousness. I'm not looking at a time when this knowledge will be for the few, but when your whole planet will be awakened to this understanding which you have simply forgotten. It's not a matter of new information, it's a matter of remembering who you are and where you come from. So you're being asked to change. You are being asked to change in a total way. It is not a matter of small changes, a little thing here, a little thing there. You really are being asked to turn yourselves inside out. There is a massive shadow which must be cleared, and it is up to you, light workers as it referred to, such as yourselves, to focus yourselves on that challenge. Those of you who are in the forefront of this, you are rather like a snowplow. You are the thin end of the wedge. You really have, how shall I put this, to a certain extent I suppose you have the shitty end of the job. You have got to do an awful lot, but nevertheless you are capable of doing an awful lot. That is why you have chosen to come. That is why you are here, what you are here for, to really, decoded by the psychic, to really shovel some shit and therefore make some space behind you to make it easier for the others. Now, as in your human body, there are energy lines around your planet, through your planet, which correspond, I suppose, very much to the acupuncture lines and meridians in your body. Where two lines cross, you create a vortex, a tiny vortex if it's two. The more lines that intersect, the bigger the vortex. Therefore, where you have a chakra, you have a large vortex of intersecting energy. It is the same with your planet. Where most lines cross, there is the biggest vortex. Now, you could say that the plexus in and around the islands you call the British Isles is the hub of the wheel of plexuses and energies which surround your planet. It has acted in other times like a fail-safe device. In order to activate these chakric points upon your planet, the energies must pass through the central point. They must pass through the heart of the pattern. And that latter piece is one of the major, perhaps the major reasons why the Illuminati have focused so massively on the United Kingdom, Britain, the British Isles, these tiny little islands which have more standing stone circles and ancient earthworks per square mile than anywhere else in the world, particularly along the western side of the country and across the Irish Sea into Ireland, because the ancients knew where these vortex points were, and they built their stone circles and stuff on that. Another thing that seems to be happening, which I'm picking up as the months pass, is that stuff that's not reported in the mainstream media, obviously, and mainstream science, is that there are changes going on in the sun which are very different. That could well be another manifestation of this energetic change, because the ancients who focused on the sun, yes, people focused on the sun because it was warm, it was the source of warmth and growth and all the rest of it. But there's another level where the sun is not just a source of warmth. It is actually a generator of energy, knowledge, information, which we pick up as well. The sun is very, very much more than it appears to be. And so this energetic change is now happening, and it's waking more and more people up. And we've got a choice to lay back on the airbed or go on the canoe and flow with it and enjoy it, or we can try to hold it back, and we can try to all hold on to our old lives and the old way of doing things and the old perceptions, in which case we're going to be using more and more energy just trying to stand still and hold on to what was, because this energy of transformation is going to change everything. And one of the things it's going to do is break up this structure, which is an energetic construct that has been put together to enslave us, and it's going to bring about, eventually, the kind of world that was here before, as this construct breaks up in the face of this correction. And we have this time to choose whether we're going to go with it, or whether we're just going to try to hold on to what the life that we've had before, and the perceptions we've had before. And the choice, that fork in the road, like I said earlier, is to go with the head and the mind and let that dominate our perception and decision-making, or to go with the heart and let our feelings and intuitive knowing lead us in the directions that we need to go. If we feel, I'm not telling people what to do, it's not my job, it's not my business, but I can tell you, like I said earlier, what transformed my life is when I decided that when this and this were at odds, I was going with this. And I tell you what, it transforms your life from an existence to an amazing synchronistic series of coincidences that make life much more interesting, much more enjoyable, and much more full of vitality than just mind following the programs round and round and round and round. And like I just said earlier, you know, the breakdown of the old structure, which I'm increasingly convinced is what's happening. You know, the Illuminati and the reptilians and all this stuff, you know, they think they're in control, but they're not really. I mean, compared with consciousness and the fuller expansion of reality, I mean, they're a fly on an elephant's back, really.